Tyler, did this go about how you expected?
Oh man, I don't know if expected is the right word, but I'm extremely excited just for this opportunity. I feel like in my head this was just a great chance to come in a great organization with great coaches.
Tyler, what was your pre-draft experience like with the Saints? How many times did you kind of meet with them and Kellen?
Mm. Yeah, so Coach Tolzien came to my pro day and we did a really extensive board work. Went to go get lunch and dinner. We spent about the whole day together before pro day and we connected really well. He watched pro day obviously, so he got to see me work out. And then shortly after then I came in for a 30 visit and got to meet everybody and it just had a great experience, man. The facilities there, the coaching, I met all day with them and they had great feedback, great support, and but yeah, I really hadn't heard from him, since then, and I was talking to my boy Ziad right after, and it was just like, man, I hope it works out. And as I was leaving at the airport, and luckily it worked out.
What was the moment like when you got the phone call?
Oh, it was surreal. Just for this moment with everybody here. You didn't think, maybe it was possible when you're getting carted off the field, and but you kind of have that self belief and the support around you, and I was just happy to be in that moment and go to an organization and team that kind of believes in you, and I'm ready to go compete and earn it.
Is this kind of
Tyler,
the range you expected to go in? What was today like, kind of watching those first few picks come off?
It was definitely nerve-wracking, just because, I know I had a really good, meetings and relationships with the Browns and had extensive, workouts and stuff like the same really thing with them. And that was definitely a potential. So once that kind of went off the board, I was eyes were looking towards the Saints, and it was just kind of a big relief off the chest whenever finally got the call.
Tyler, you mentioned the injuries. What's the journey been like, trying to come back from them and now landing in this spot?
I mean, it's been a long one, but for me, it's only made me stronger. I've had the bone breaks; it hasn't affected me physically, and it's strengthened me mentally. So, I feel so prepared to come into to New Orleans and just go there and continue to learn, continue to grow and compete. And at this point, I'm ready for this opportunity and excited to get there.
how important was this last year for you mentally? Just getting through the full season, and getting to play everything out without having to deal with the injury again.
It was huge. Just to be in that style of offense, under Coach Brom, you're running pro style concepts, having a lot more control of everything, having a full season where you have to manage the ebbs and flows. And, I've obviously been around and seen a lot of ball and started a lot of games, but getting a full season and kind of being able to showcase what I can do was my main goal. And was just happy to be here in this moment and want to continue doing that.
Growing
Hey
up in
Tyler, congratulations, man. You mentioned that you're excited about working on some things. I'm just curious about how you feel about your contact with Kellen Moore and this New Orleans Saints coaching staff and their ability to help you be able to do that.
I mean, I think everywhere Coach Moore has been, it's been greatness from the quarterback position. I think he's a guru when it comes to that, and I'm just so excited to kind of continue to work with him. And that I feel like this is the only team in the NFL where you got the QB coach, the OC, and the head coach, all quarterback guys. So just an incredible opportunity to come in and learn from them.
growing up in Chandler, how well did you know Spencer Rattler?
Pretty well, I would say. We weren't friends, but we played against each other in Pee Wee, going into high school a little bit. So we were always kind of in the QB circuit. But super fired up to be in the same room with him, and yeah, he's such a great dude and obviously a really good player.
How would you kind of describe your play style?
I think for me, I'm a high level mental processor and have those NFL traits and QB qualities. Being a taller guy who can move and be an athletic and can make any type of throw. But I think for me, my biggest thing and where I've had success is being able to win pre snap and make up for it post snap if it's not the right look. And for me, I'm going to continue to try and play free and just go out there and continue to grow and continue to get better. And I think that every year in my career, I felt like I've learned so much and gotten better. So that's my goal right now is to continue to climb.
Who are some guys you grew up watching and kind of idolizing, I guess?
Yeah. For me, I was a huge Tom Brady fan growing up, but I would say the guy I watched the most was Matthew Stafford. Just his toughness, the way he throws the football, just loved him, and I think a little bit of the athleticism in my game, and definitely watched Josh Allen as well.
There aren't many 25-year-old rookies, 26-year-old rookies in the NFL. How do you view that? Do you see it as an advantage that you're a little more mature at this point? Like, where do you kind of come in with that?
Yeah, I think for me in a perfect scenario, I played 10, 12 years and I'm still, mid 30s and I think, any team would ask for that and coming into this situation, I've already seen what can happen in the NFL and I've already gone through those challenges in college, so I feel much more prepared now to come in and just play free and have fun and do everything I can to make the team better. And I think when you're a younger guy, 21, 22, and you don't know what you don't know and there's some growing pains and the support system around me with my wife and my family. And I just feel a lot more equipped to come in and handle it.
Tyler, when you're going through a COVID season and then injury after injury, like do you lean on anybody? Did you like read stuff to kind of get you through that? Like how did you personally get through all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you got to utilize the people around you. And for me, that was my wife. She's been my rock, my fiance, girlfriend, at different stages. But I think for me, just having her, having my dog there, obviously, just going on walks, and then my athletic trainers, at Texas Tech, Louisville, those people were vital, and the strength coaches. I fell in love with the game from the whole process standpoint of it, lifting, rehabbing, game planning. Whenever I was hurt, I got the game plan with the coaches, and I fell in love with it. So I knew whenever I was out in the field, I was going to be able to make plays, and I kind of just fell in love with that whole process, and just needed an opportunity.
Can you tell us about the dog? What's their name and how long have you had them and all that?
Yeah, her name's Murphy. Her name's Murphy. We named her from the main character in Interstellar. She's about 2.5, and she's been there through a lot of the stuff, and she's definitely been a huge support system for sure. She doesn't care how you feel. She's got her own needs and got to go on walks, so she's been great. But she was fired up to be a Saint, though. We got the bandana on her, and she's ready to go down there for sure.
Tyler, what do you remember about your time at Oregon with Juwan Johnson?
Juwan's my guy, man. I love that dude. He was so pivotal on me, just from a faith journey. He had such a huge impact on me. We had Bible studies every single week. Trusting in him. We were roommates, together. We lived in the hotel together, on the road and at home. We helped each other with school, and it was just kind of a big bro, little bro relationship. And to see him and his success when it wasn't necessarily in his favor, he was kind of an underdog, and I was just proud of the way he's handled this. And I've kind of thrown and worked with him throughout this whole process, and we talked about it a lot. And I'm really excited to make it happen and get to work with him again.
Tyler, you mentioned the three quarterbacks on the Saints coaching staff. You played for another quarterback last year in Coach Braum. How was that helpful to you in playing a full season?
It was amazing, just because you're watching film and you're getting that lens that's behind the face mask of, they analyze it as if they can make that play or they couldn't make that play, and how do you handle the locker room. And Coach Nussmeier's been in every single position as a quarterback, and so has Coach Tolzien and Coach Kellen Moore, and all these guys have been a starter. They've been a coach. They've been a backup. They've been a bridge guy. To Peyton Manning whenever Coach Nuss was there, and being able to sit down and talk with them, and they know what greatness looks like, and Coach Braum was great for me in that ride, just to from a film aspect, from how do you handle and come in and earn everybody's respect, and was just grateful for that time, and I'm super excited to work with them.
When you transferred to Louisville, did you have an idea like that this was coming, that this was possible? Like, where were you kind of mentally when you got there?
No, man, I think the greatest part about this process is I've gotten a whole new perspective and humility with it. My whole thing was, man, it's probably not going to work out, but I'm going to give it everything I can. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be fine, and I'm going to make the most of it. So I think my thing is I've always been confident in myself, and I just needed an opportunity at Louisville. And that's my whole goal going in the NFL, is just to have fun with it. You got to be prepared. You got to go make every moment count. A lot of the stuff is it's in God's hands and it's out of your control, so you might as well just have fun.
Tyler, what stood out from conversations with Kellen Moore about what he was looking for from you, like what he wanted to see about how you see the game, or what questions he wanted you to answer for him?
Yeah, I think we talked in depth about my responsibilities at the line of scrimmage at Louisville. How I kind of see the game. What we did in the past in multiple different offenses, from an air raid perspective, from a pro style perspective, and he was one of the only coaches that I ever met with that phrased, "There's always a good and bad tape." Every person has these things that he called growth opportunities. And that was one of my favorite visits because you're going to have to talk about bad plays, and bad plays are going to happen, and you're going to have good ones. But whenever those bad plays come, how do you analyze it? And he never viewed it as a negative. He views it as an opportunity to grow, and it was fixable. And I really love that perspective from him because he understands the position that it's all analytical and you can grow every single snap and play. So I love that, and I took a lot out of it.
Tyler, where does that some of the like off-platform stuff come from with you? Is that just kind of like creative play style? Is that stuff you work on?
It's definitely stuff I've worked on with my quarterback coach Landry Klon. He's actually he played at Nickel State and Thibodeau, so he played in Louisiana, and I know he's going to be fired up for there. But yeah, just being really intentional about being more grounded with your feet, being more rotational with your upper body, and he's been great. And obviously my time at Texas Tech worked on it a bunch, and then kind of going into Louisville was really getting better at it.
Tyler, how much did the Senior Bowl experience help you?
It was pivotal. I think for me, it was my Super Bowl as far as being able to go in there and get around the guys. I got everybody's numbers, prior, and send them the playbook, and being able to work with them and kind of go week to week like you're installing plays, you're interviewing for a new job, and it's really football based. And for me, kind of operating the huddle and the headset mechanics and the style of offense, it was all something that I had done in my past. So I felt like I had an advantage going into it, and then it was up to me to just go out there and rip it.
Can I can I ask you a question? Just a couple of quick ones. I saw you from Chandler, Arizona. Did you obviously he's older than you, but do you know about Cam Jordan? Did you meet him? Do you have any relationship with him? I think he's from Chandler too.
Yeah, no, I definitely know of the background being in Chandler. I'm excited to hopefully chop it up about it his time in Seatown for sure. But I do not have a relationship with him. He's definitely a little bit older, but I would love to be able to connect just because there's a lot of good players, definitely from the state here and in the city.
And I just had one follow up. You said Thibodeau the right way. I apologize. I should probably know this. Did you go to the Manning Passing Academy, and do
Yeah.
you know Archie or have a
Yeah.
relationship with the Mannings?
Yeah, I love those guys. Yeah, I went twice to the Manny Passion Academy. Loved it in Thibodeau. Had such a great time learning from them, and I still get texts from Archie, every other couple weeks or so, and kind of big moments pop up. And he's been a great support system, and he's great with all the quarterbacks, and he's super involved, which is really cool.
In case you didn't know, you're the highest quarterback since Archie in 54 years to be drafted by this franchise.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome, man. It's such a great franchise and an unbelievable opportunity.
Tyler, I see that your mom and dad played sports in college. How much of an influence did they have on you when you were little and playing sports?
Yeah, I mean, their influence on me was huge. My dad was a cop and my mom was a teacher. I think academics was the main priority from them growing up. And, if I wanted to get offers, I had to make sure my school and my relationships and how I, treated everybody in the building was perfect. And luckily I had that instilled in me from a young age. And them obviously having that athletic background, definitely influenced me. And I played, football, baseball, basketball growing up and just love sports. And, I think baseball was really my first kind of sport whenever I was younger, but then I started playing quarterback only in like middle school and then fell in love with it.
I'm wondering how you kind of
Couple
see
more guys.
the changes to college football to extend the eligibility. Like, did you think you benefited from that? Did you come in at the right time? What do you kind of just make of the changes to that sport as you went through them, basically?
Yeah, I don't necessarily, in my case, I didn't necessarily benefit from changes of eligibility or like the JUCO-ness. I just, I had a red shirt and then it was COVID year and then I had a medical. So it just was unfortunate timing with some of the stuff, but for me, like I said, it's prepared me so much mentally to kind of deal with a lot of the adversity on and off the field. Some of the circumstances are out of your control, and you have to respond to that. And I was just been super proud of myself and all my teammates, and just kind of persevering through everything. And that's a parallel to what you're going to see in the NFL.
How do you
Hey,
view
Tyler.
How do you view coming to a franchise that hasn't really had a lot of stability or consistency at the quarterback position since Drew Brees retired, and also seems to have a lot of uncertainty about that position now?
I think for me, my goal is to come in there and compete and do everything I can to make the team better. And, I think for my situation, that's my whole goal. And I'm just really excited to work with the coaches and see a lot of my close friends and teammates that, that are already there. So just super fired up for the opportunity and obviously, a great franchise and a great history of quarterbacks, like you said.
Tyler, you along those same lines, you mentioned in a recent interview that you wanted to prove that you're the quarterback that could change a franchise. How do you hope to do that here in New Orleans?
I think for me, just keeping the same mindset I've had throughout this process, just playing free, enjoying every single moment, just because, I've gotten that perspective and you got to go out there and compete and earn it every single day. And I think the greatest thing I've learned throughout this whole process is about the relationships that you build, the connections that you make, and, how you treat people in the building. And all that stuff is going to work itself out. And I'm just fired up for the opportunity more than anything. And just trusting that it's gonna work out in whatever shape or form.
I know you referenced this
Last question.
but the injuries, the broken bones. How long did it take for you to really kind of get back to the point where you felt comfortable in the pocket with those kind of obviously not ligaments, but significant injuries?
Um, right away, candidly, it only took 6 to 8 weeks to heal. And I remember when I was at Texas Tech, and once I finally got surgery in 2022, I was back to running, quarterback power and counter, and I was getting hit right away. And I was like, all right, it's good, it's sturdy, so let's just rip it. And it hasn't affected me, since then. A lot of the stuff is, like I said, out of your control. You can't control getting hip dropped or, breaking your collarbone is probably one of the most common injuries. And for me, it helped me out mentally more than anything and finding a way to add value to my teammates and the coaches.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.